Good afternoon, everybody. This is Michael from Chats of Info. We decided to change the pace for today. Um, yeah, I hope everybody's well, doing well. Quick disclaimer: this is a conversation between me and Randy only, so don't take don't take it as an expert's advice, especially on the financial part. But yeah, good to have you next week. I mean, new week.
Damn, bro. We're doing this in the afternoon, and clearly this is not it.
Yep, it affects my brain.
It's a little too slow. Well, anyway, let's jump in with what topics we got today. So, on the personal development, we got here reading body language. For fitness, we have how do carbohydrates work in the body, and on the finance side, we have how do taxes work with trading and investing, and finally, news updates at the end.
That's
Yep.
good.
All right. So let's jump right into it. So, reading body language. Hmm.
Body language, that's a huge topic, and one that's really important too, because if you know how to read the body language, I feel like you have an advantage over the people that's in the room with you, or whatever scenario it is. It's something that you need to, it's kind of like an ability. The more that you do it, the more you understand how it works, and the more that you can control your own body language, and you're conscious about it too, in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, I would say you're definitely more conscious about it.
Yeah, it's definitely you become more aware that you do some things unconsciously, but once you realize that you're doing it and you don't like what you're doing or the signal that it sends, you try to control it and try to work on it and try to better yourself at it as well.
Hmm.
But what is it? Can you define body language?
That's a pretty. I have no idea how to actually define it. I mean, we can look it up. Hold
No, okay. So body language is pretty much the unconscious mobility of the body that one does in a room. Like it kind of shows.
I got it for you.
Okay, okay.
The
Yes.
process of the process of communicating non-verbally through
Mhm.
conscious or unconscious gestures and movements.
Correct. So definitely is something that is a way to communicate, because a lot of people you can literally just communicate the type of person that you are by the body language that you have or do you show.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's a way to communicate. You know what they say, like the 80-20 rule. 80% is body language, 20% is what you're actually saying. So like
Hmm.
what weights more in the room is how you say it, and what you the way that you mention things, the way that you tell things in kind of speak it out carries more weight than the actual words that you are saying. So you can be lying and you can be a great liar because you have a very strong body language, or you can have like a weak body language and you can be lying and everybody's gonna catch you bullshit that you're lying. Pretty
Hmm.
much it.
That's pretty cool.
All right, go for it.
So yeah, sometimes it's easy to read body language. Let's say hypothetically your parents are upset, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll see like facial expressions or body, the way their body's positioned, like if they're more in an aggressive position. And it doesn't have to just work for your parents. It can work for anybody. If somebody's mad, somebody's sad, somebody's excited, you can see that in their body language, right? Really joyful. They're moving their hands a lot. Um, but then oftentimes the thing that's usually missed are the more subtle ways of body language. The more subtle ways of communicating. So it'd be like small facial expressions. Like hypothetically, you see this a lot when you say like a joke. Somebody's really sarcastic, right? I
Right.
would I would say that I'm a pretty sarcastic person because I would say a joke and not even do anything. I don't even make any kind of expression or anything. I just kind of stay with the same face. But I do little things in order to facilitate the fact it's a joke. It's not supposed to
Right.
be taken seriously, but they're very subtle. And once you get really good at reading body language, that's when you start picking up on things like that. And it doesn't just have to be with jokes. Somebody could be telling somebody could be telling you something, a backhanded compliment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So girls usually do this all the time, right? They tell you that you look good, but something. You look good, but the dress is a little tight. That's a backhanded compliment, and the way you say it, yeah, that's the kind of the interpretation that you're going to get from it, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Uh, Go ahead.
So yeah, absolutely. So body language is not gonna only, like, if you understand. how to read. I almost say all right. I would say read and write. No, no, that's not.
If
If you
you can
understand
write body language,
how to read the other people's body language, this is gonna be helpful when you go to interviews, when you're doing presentations, or when you go on a date with girls. There's some certain body languages that tells whether a girl is into you or not. Now, it's not proven. I mean, some things are proven, but not everything. So maybe like like that flip hair. That's a that's a really common one. Or like the arms crossed. So if a person crosses your arm in front of you, that means that they don't trust you. And the
they're guarded.
proximity that the person talks in front of you as well, it means like the level of comfort you will bring into the person. Or like when it comes to girls, if she's really close to you, she likes to stand next to you, that usually means that she's safe around you. So it's a good it's a plus for you. Yeah, definitely. um and so like there's a lot to it, and like Randy mentions, the more you do it, the more you go out there socially with people and interact, you start learning more and more. Now,
Mm.
whenever you meet in a group of people, my suggestion is always be quiet and just observe, because that gives you a huge upper hand to anybody in the room. So you know who's the jokester, who's the comedian, who's the like the shy guy or the shy persons in the group.
Mhm.
So it gives you that little kind of uh, diagnose of the room, of the
Yeah, the
environment.
diagnosis. You kind of get to just like the better you get at it, the more you get to see like you can engage an environment, and just by like looking at the way people are communicating, you're just like, okay, I can see that this guy's this girl is that, this guy's doing
Sorry.
this type of thing, right? So it definitely makes it easier. And going back to that point with girls, right? Hypothetically, let's say you step in a little bit to close the distance between a girl and she backs away. That's already telling you from the body language that she's uncomfortable with you, or that she feels weird. So there's a lot of nuance to the topic, and we can definitely always come back to the topic and talk about it later on. But I just understand that once you get a good grasp of like what is body language and the way it kind of just happens every day in your life, it's going to be a huge advantage to you, because a lot of people have this awkwardness to them, the social awkwardness, where they, especially college students, especially those that are a little bit more on the scientific, uh
Stan.
yeah, the STEM majors, right? The scientific approach, whatever the major is. um you have a tendency of being a little bit more awkward, introverted, not being able to communicate your thoughts and expressions well. And one of those reasons is because you don't have a firm understanding of what body language is. So yeah, I would definitely say try to
Yeah,
read up on it
and
and try to get better at it.
one quick tip I can give to anybody who's shy, anybody who has hard time socializing with people, is get a job in customer service. You're
Hmm.
going to realize, you're going to learn so much out of it, how people react, how people's faces expressions work, as well as their body language as they approach you, as well that you learn how to treat others, because it helps you understand other people as well. Just by just by looking at it, just by literally just standing in front of that person, you learn to understand those people better. Now, Randy and I would both work on the service industry. I mean, I was a front desk in a hotel, so I used to interact with tons of people, and that's where I kind of developed my communication skills. And I'm very grateful that I had the chance. And you still
Hmm.
work in the gym, you get to interact with people, and you get to see this. And now, when it comes to like seeing other people, it's funny because like you start like seeing things and you just laugh, or like what, for example, a guy approaching to a girl. Remember the other day when we were working out?
Yeah, that was
You
really weird.
notice things and you become more aware, and it gives you like, it's kind of like a superpower. It's really cool.
For sure, for sure.
There's tons of
It,
resources out there too that you can learn. And I did it myself. Like I used to watch YouTube videos about body language in order for me to learn a little bit more and comprehend about the topic to a deeper level, and how I
mhm.
can take that and bring that into my lifestyle, my life, my habits.
No, just your daily life and the way you interact with people, for sure.
Mhm.
And that brings something to mind that you just I don't know why that just jogged my memory, but tonality, the way you speak, right?
Mhm.
So the way you say things.
Oh, yeah.
You were saying it earlier. It doesn't matter what you say, but it's more how you say it.
Mhm.
So on one aspect, it's the body language, right? So if you say it in a really timid way, that's going to be perceived as, you're like shy and really scared. But also tonality, like the inflections on your voice, how deep you decide to speak. These are the things that are really going to either make that message come across as like, you know, I'm being serious or I'm scared and shy.
Right, yeah. I think you can clearly see the difference between Randy's tone and my tone of voice. Like his is really deep, mine is like normal,
Neutral.
neutral. But my tone is more like kind of like a roller coaster. While
Mm.
Randy's is always like monotonic. Like it's deep, but it's always like mono.
It's always flat,
Yeah. So
unless I laugh or I'm saying something and my voice cracks.
true. Yeah. It's
It
literally.
happens a little too often. I don't like.
It also like we're not saying like go out there and try to get like a deeper voice because at the end of the day you have to be you. So kind of enhance those like your ability and just project it a little bit more.
Yeah,
Just easy as that.
for sure. All right. I think that about it covers that. All right, so let's move on to the next part.
Mhm.
So this one won't spend too much time here. This is pretty straightforward. But how do carbohydrates work in the body? So carbohydrates have a couple different functions, but the main one is basically as an energy source. So we've talked about it before with different energy levels relative to the intensities of the exercises that you're doing. So extrapolating out the intensity part of exercise, carbohydrates, when your body kind of just converts it into energy, is usually converted into glucose.
Yes.
Glucose is just a basic form of sugar, and that is what your body uses normally as an energy source if it's available. Simply put, it's really easy to use as an energy source. It's like the difference between putting, well, I don't really know the difference between oil and cars, but um, imagine putting a really good oil as opposed to a shitty oil into a car.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see a difference relative to the quality. And that's what I mean in terms of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, again, it's basic energy or it's basic sugar that your body uses as energy and it's really efficient and quick. However, if you're not careful with it, your body will convert that into fat because as quickly as it converted into energy for you to use, it can store it as energy as body fat.
Right.
Um, on top of that, carbohydrates also do have a couple other functions. So, in terms of regulating hormones, they help you produce some hormones in the body. They obviously they're nutrition, right? So they also have vitamins and minerals. So those obviously help you regulate your body. Um, let's see, I have an article. Well, not that I have an article. I wrote an article. Just trying to remember what it was. The last
I wrote
bits
an
here.
essay for my class.
Huh?
Now that's what you say. I wrote an
Yeah,
essay on my for my class.
pretty much.
All right. When
Um,
it comes to carbs, what I think is sugar. That's that one thing that I know
mhm.
about it. Like he mentioned, I think Randy mentioned all the points that I kind of know. So I don't want to go over that again. But you just gotta control the carbs because too much of it, and carbs are everywhere, literally everywhere. Rice, cookies, bread, everything that has flour or that can be converted into sugar. So you just gotta be careful with that.
Yeah,
Not to.
carbs is. It, people have a bad rep, or nowadays people give it a bad reputation.
Mhm,
Carbohydrates are just carbohydrates, right? So they're energy for the body. If you don't know how to manage your food, it very easily can become fat.
mhm,
Um, but again, on top of the just like the energy thing, it also helps you generate more heat. Helps you with fat regulation. Helps you with protein metabolism. So there's different functions to this. It's not just it's energy, and if you consume too much, you get fat. I mean, you do, but it's not just that.
yeah, there's the balance. Like everything with a balance is going to be good for your body. And oh, like the analogy that you were trying to make with the car is like the type of fuel that you use. For example, if you use the regular 75, you get what you pay for, right? You get more miles, but it's not good for your motor. But if you pay the premium gas, the premium fuel, you're going to be, you're pretty much taking care more of the engine. because it's a better, more refined field.
Hmm.
So same thing with carbs. You know, the more
Yep.
trash, it's harder to break it apart. The better carbs, the healthier ones, it's gonna be useful.
Yeah, and usually there's always something that ends up happening later on because of consuming shitty, like a shitty fuel source, a shitty carbohydrate source.
Right.
Whether again that ends up being you becoming a diabetic later on, or you pack on more weight. It messes with your hormones in weird ways, so that makes you more susceptible to kind of just retaining more body fat,
Mhm.
uh, decreasing your metabolism. There's a whole host of problems. That's why the field of like what I want to become being a dietitian is so vast because whatever you consume can affect you in 1,000 different ways.
True. So it's a problem
Mhm.
to solve, but
And it's different for everybody.
yeah, it's different for everybody. And just have a healthy diet, man.
Yeah.
Not that
Keep it
hard.
balanced and
Keep
just try to avoid the bad stuff.
keep the balance. I think it's
Mm.
everything with a balance is good. All right. You found the article, or should we move on?
No, no, no. That was it. It was just heat regulation, protein metabolism, and fat uh, regulation as well. So, what by fat, obviously body fat, but the fat that you consume as well.
Oh, definitely.
Mm.
And remember also that fat, like it can be visible fat, like you can see it outside in your body, but there's also a fat that it's in your veins, the one that gives you high cholesterol, I think.
Right. So, in terms of that, that's just cholesterol.
Oh,
So, we talked about this before. Consuming cholesterol. So, usually you see that people tell you don't eat too many eggs because it has high cholesterol.
mhm.
It's not necessarily true. It does have high cholesterol, but that doesn't mean it's going to up your cholesterol levels. So again, like you were saying, there's always a balance. So when it comes to your cholesterol, the thing that most people are looking at are the HDLs and LDLs, high
Mhm.
density lipids and low density lipids. So these are just think of it like little what's a good I can't really think of it right now, but essentially like if the ratio is off between HDLs and LDLs,
Mhm.
the LDLs kind of get stuck within the arteries of your veins, or rather the arteries of your heart,
Right.
and that's why people can sometimes have a heart attack when they have high cholesterol levels. So essentially, you're blocking the passageway for the blood to flow through to your heart.
Mhm.
So that's why you got to make sure that your HDLs and LDLs are in good balance.
Yeah, everything should be a balance. All
Mm-hmm.
right, let's move on to the next topic of the day.
All right, this one should be pretty quick. So
Yeah, how do taxes work with trading and investing? We briefly mentioned this on previous podcast.
mm-hmm.
You want to explain that trading aspect? I do the investing one.
I would say it's relatively the same. So from my understanding, the tax works out relative to your income. So relative to whatever you make during the year, that's the amount that you're basically going to be taxed as. But again, the way I trade and the way Michael invests, the reason why we're taxed differently is because mine is considered, or like the income or the winnings that I make is considered to be like actual winnings if I were like working a job.
Mhm.
So in the same way, if I work a job that pays me $15 an hour, taxes are taken out of that. Same idea when it comes to me trading and making winnings. I make my trades, I get my winnings, and when I pull that money out, I'm going to be taxed in a similar way. But for Michael, it's not considered to be the same because he's holding those stocks for longer periods of time.
Right.
So I'll let you explain after that.
Yeah, absolutely. For example, so what Rentis trades or how he gets taxed is called short-term trading, a short-term hold. So he gets taxed by every trade that he does. So but he has to make profit. And now, when it comes to investing, there's two different taxes that you have to pay. Now, the dividends that you made, so you get tax of that dividend and also the profits of that year. So starting on January 1st through the time, because remember you holding it for more than a year, so you probably had winnings of per buy of like over 50% or more. So what they do is when you get your brokerage, they send you the documents, specific documents for the taxes. So they already have like specified of how much net profit you made within that year only. And they don't take into account the previous year. That's why it's very important to kind of hold it throughout the year, because even if you buy the same share, um, you add it to the portfolio, it's considered the same investment. It's not considered how is it called, like a new trade. It's just considered that you adding to that same portfolio if you
Hmm.
keep holding it though. But if you were to sold your shares and then rebuy it again, then it goes automatically into the into what Randy's trading platform goes into, so which will be short-term trade, regardless if it's the same shares or not, like the same company. So that's a little bit. I think people get confused about it. That you can day trade the same company for the whole year, but if you buying and selling frequently, the same, it can be the same index, then you getting taxed short term per trade that you made.
Hmm.
But whether like you have already a position, you keep adding shares to it, and you don't sell it, you just add to it, then you get just tax for the investment rather than per per buy. And
Hmm.
that's when it comes a little bit cheaper too. For investment, that becomes cheaper than for trading frequently. So
For sure.
depending on your accountant as well, because my accountant does that for me. And yeah.
Yeah. Just make sure you like you could even do it yourself because that's how I do it.
Hmm.
Just make sure you have all those documents, and then at the end of the year, I used TurboTax, so that makes it a lot simpler for me. I just literally copy paste the information in,
Hmm.
and then it tells me if I have to pay taxes or obviously because I'm still a college student, I get a lot of deductibles from that. So oftentimes I don't really even have to pay taxes. It kind of just balances itself out. But obviously, if I start winning like a crazy amount, so it's
Then
like today, yeah, today I'm up $700. Great. But if I pay $3,000 for school and I lose these $700, then I'm basically down 3,700.
yeah, and also try not to make too much profit. I would say, like, let's say your share goes up to like $50,000. You double your money. Trust me, you're gonna get taxed the shit out of that. So definitely try to avoid making too much gains in one trade. Like per trade, you should be making an average of like 25%. I would say 25 to 45% is a good number to stay like profit wise per trade, because if you make more of that, your taxes are gonna be a little bit higher. You can calculate that for sure. Now, shit, I had another thing to mention when it comes to this. I forgot. But anyways, we can come back to that.
But as you were saying, so it's relative to your income again. So
Hmm.
let's say hypothetically, with my work as a personal trainer, I make 60K, and then with my trading, I make another 60K, right? So that's going to put me in a tax bracket relative to I'm not sure. That'll probably take out like around 30 to 35% of my winnings for the year. So that's what I would have to pay back in state taxes and federal taxes, right? Um, but hypothetically, let's say I make 60K with my personal training and only 10K with my trading, I don't get taxed the same way because my income was less. So it'd be 70,000 compared to 120,000. I'd be in a different tax bracket.
Correct. Yeah, and also, guys, don't forget to pay the taxes. If you don't pay your taxes, that's federal crime. And later, if you get caught, you eventually have to pay double or
Going to
triple
jail.
or jail if you cannot afford to pay it. That's why when it comes to trading and you're making cash, let's say you made a trade that make you 10 grand, save some for taxes. Don't spend it all. Don't go and buy a new car just because you made 10K and keep making 10K. You have to save some for taxes, because from that 10K, you're gonna get, depending on your deductibles and all that on your income, you're probably gonna get deducted like 2K or 3K. Actually, no, that's too high.
I would
But
say 30%, 30 to
yeah,
40%, depending on how
3%,
much money you make in the year.
like 1.3K dollars of 10, something like that. But yeah, so it depends relatively how much you make throughout the year as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it doesn't make it too long. Any news updates for this week or for today, tomorrow?
Uh, so let's see. Right now, the market is bouncing back very nicely. Well, specifically with the Nasdaq is bouncing back, but everything else has been going up pretty steady.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you before we started this, industries that got hit hard again, like airlines, cruise lines, hotels, oil. That's all bouncing back very nicely right now. I see Boeing here is at about 202 right now. Last week it started off like around the 180 mark, so it's already up 20%, or rather 10% per share. So that's cool.
Absolutely. So the markets right now are reacting really nice to the news of the vaccines. Probably, coming up before Thanksgiving or before the end of the year. Now, the stock market is making new highs, which is really good to see. That doesn't represent the economy, though, guys. One thing that you guys need to understand is that the stock market does not represent the entire economy of the United States. So, regardless, right now, the economy is facing down, is facing a lot of challenges, and we still need the stimulus. Hopefully, we get it once Biden gets to the cabinet, or even before that, will be awesome. But there's tons of retailers or like a small businesses that are going bankruptcy, and also the real estate is down right now. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what happens. In other news, retail, major retailers are coming out with earnings report this week. We have Home Depot, Walmart doing tomorrow. I'm definitely keeping an eye on those. And I expect a strong earnings reports because a lot of people being, like kind of going to Home Depot buy stuff for their house because they're bored in quarantine. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely strong numbers on that. But yeah.
Got my boy Neo earnings reports tomorrow, coming
Oh,
back
yeah.
nice and strong.
Mhm.
Made a nice little profit today, bounced back. I've again I recapped my trades on radically driven trading at Instagram. So yeah, I died on Friday. Like literally, it just fell off a cliff, and then it bounced back within today, and I basically doubled my losses from what I had on Friday. So Neo has an earnings report tomorrow. It's projected to do really good, and overall, the company has a lot of good fundamentals behind it. Also, the Chinese government is backing the company, so that's a really strong indicator that the company's just going to keep growing as it keeps achieving new highs. So yeah,
Right. Quick fact: anime is the most streamed on Netflix right now. Let that
which
sink.
one
Anime,
is the most one?
like more played on Netflix.
Yeah, but that's Japanese.
Japanese, but no, not just in Japan.
Yeah,
So I saw this article saying that anime is the new trend. So everybody is watching more anime than before. And
but that's Japanese, not Chinese.
I never say Chinese.
Huh?
I never say Chinese. I
Well, I
say
don't know
quick
why you were
fact.
mentioning that.
Nah, it's just funny. I just find it interesting. Now,
Yeah,
if you
bro, that's
watch
racist. I
anime,
can't believe you don't even know the difference between Japanese and Chinese cultures.
bro,
Don't you like ramen? Don't you like ramen?
wait, no, what you talking about?
Damn,
I know the
bro, I can't
difference.
believe
Bro.
this.
The fuck? I'm a huge anime fan. So I know my difference. I know my Japanese culture.
I don't know, man. I think you're uneducated,
On culture.
uncultured.
Culture. Nah,
You
but yeah.
swine, you
So it's really
uneducated swine.
interesting, guys. If you watch anime, you're my guys. You're my
Oh wait,
peeps.
where's my shirt? Hold on. Ah, fuck, I don't have it here. But it was a cool shirt.
What is it?
Shout out to the girlfriend. Oh, we can
Oh
see
yeah,
that.
it's huge on anime, right? Oh, I
Yeah.
love that one. That one is dope. Dragon Ball Z is definitely one of my favorites. Then is One Piece, and then is
We
probably
can
two.
have a topic conversation about
Yeah,
anime.
we should talk
Which ones
about.
are the best ones?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. All right, yo, peace out. We'll talk to you tomorrow,
Deuces.
probably in the morning though, because this
Take
doesn't.
care. See you within less than 24 hours.
Thanks.